when you're, I can't speak very much, but you can imagine.
Let's bring in John Gashir, journalist and regional affairs analyst, joining us live via the phone to just shed more light on this. Good evening, John. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Yes, we have heard from Riek Machar's wife there speaking to Salem Kikeke of the BBC, and as the SPLM IO has said, they are opposed to the conditions of Machar's release. Can this work? What the cabinet, South Sudan's cabinet, came up with that has been supported by IGAD. Can this work?
Ben, I would hope that it would work, but perhaps the past history and also the realities on the ground is that would not work. It's more, in my view, that the IGAD and a lot of the mediators are perhaps playing up to the gallery in that Riek Machar is still a key player, and he cannot be wished away, unfortunately, and that the conditions therefore attached of his release are, in my view, perhaps a little, shall I say, draconian, in that the man is now being asked to relocate to another country outside the borders of South Sudan, and also to renounce the violence. I think they are not realistic expectations that then that they are trying to kind of portray him as a person behind the violence. That is not necessarily true, and it is not really realistic to expect that a party to the conflict is then being given conditional release, whereas the other party to the conflict seems to be enjoying a lot of latitude. Now, is he freed? I am not so sure. I think he's, to a large extent, being under restriction.
John, from where you sit, do you think that this deal, whether Machar and his people accept it or not, does it foster peace back in South Sudan?
My own reading, I was just back from Juba, recently. The issue is that it's much more deeper. It's much more integrated.
Right.
That the question of South Sudan political and economic crisis will need a little bit much more concerted effort on all parties to the conflict. And for IGAD, in this regard, to appear to be, to a large extent, partisan, for lack of a better word, or
right,
not neutral sufficiently, this then perhaps creates another roadblock. And remember, the talks, the revitalization talks are due to start in Addis Ababa fairly soon. And as we are hearing, the government is saying if the talks don't succeed, they will go on and hold an election. At the same time, we are having the former Chief of General Staff has also created a new force, so to speak. So what we are having is a multiple actors seeking to be enjoined in the peace talks. And that until there is, in my view, a very holistic and concentrated discussion with all players and partners, then the peace process in South Sudan will still be, going 2 steps forward and then 3 steps behind, and possibly 1 step to the left and 1 step to the other side. So we are still in the same quagmire, political quagmire.
Now, if Riek Machar rejects this deal, then what? I mean, is it taken back? Does the house arrest continue? Where does that leave the peace process?
That is an interesting question that perhaps by asking Riek Machar to get out of South Africa and into another, location outside the neighboring countries is perhaps an admission that the earlier and even the idea of holding him in South Africa has not worked. And indeed, the situation has continued to deteriorate rather than improve. Now, is this perhaps a diplomatic way of saying that Riek now can relocate to any other country, and that South Africa and IGAD then can say we cannot be accused of having been, partisan, so to speak?
All right. There has been invitations for a reunification of the SPLM on the 19th of April. Do you think that is a clear, effective process to solve the political problem in South Sudan?
Again, Ben, for me, I think it's a commitment on the parties to the conflict. And
right.
For me, right now, I am not seeing that commitment of all the major players now. But we have to be clear that at the moment, the person or the party with the largest ability and clout is the government of South Sudan. Now, the factions that exist of the SPLM coming together, there are certain fundamental issues that have to be addressed. One is a question of inclusivity. Two is a question of succession. Three is a question of legitimacy. And four is a question of power sharing. And therefore, will this new attempt at reuniting SPLM succeed? I am not very optimistic. I wish I were, and
right.
I wish that would happen, but I don't see this happening in due course or sooner than later.
Final question for you, John. You have indicated earlier that you think that IGAD is being partisan. Do you think it is time for probably the AU to step in? The feeling that looking in from outside is that the IGAD countries have, in my view, wasted a golden opportunity to have had as much impact on the process in South Sudan. But then the security spillover, the economic, the social, the humanitarian crisis, the region is having and sharing the biggest blunt. Now, would the African Union play a better role? I would like to imagine so, but it cannot do that outside IGAD. And you need IGAD to act and work together, and that it is in their own best interest that the South Sudan situation is arrested very rapidly before we all in the region pay the price of inaction, or perhaps pay the price for differing, as it were. So the destiny of South Sudan still rests on the shoulders of IGAD. Thank you, John.
Yes.
Thank you, John. John Gashir, journalist and analyst of East African regional affairs, giving us his insights into the South Sudan peace process.